Opening draw at the 2021 Scotties Tournament of Hearts from the bubble at the Mark and MacPhail Centre in Calgary. Defending champion in Team Canada, skipped by Kerri Einarson, facing Mackenzie Zacharias and her wildcard rink. And when Zacharias was 11, she volunteered at the Manitoba Provincials and met Einarson. Well, Zacharias had a dream in mind.
The final and the winner carry on to the National Scotties, where I could see them on TV was inspiring. I wanted to one day compete at the National Scotties. 10 years later, and my dream is about to come true.
So how about that? Her first ever Scotties game, and it's against Einarson. Second end, Einarson rink up 1-0. Einarson without hammer makes the brilliant draw to the side of the button, and that was a stolen point in the end. Team Canada up 2-0. Next end, Zacharias facing a couple.
Struggling right now on her
eyeing the single point.
Cannot miss narrow this late in the end. And
gets it by the guard, makes the hit, and moves the Red Rock far enough. Zacharias and her rink are on the board. They trail 2-1. To the fourth, skip stones. Einarson's first with hammer, facing one. Gets it by their own, makes the wonderful soft weight hit to lie 3. That is what they scored in the end. Team Canada goes on top, 5-1. Skip to the seventh end. Zacharias' rink down 6-2. Trying the triple takeout to get back in the game, but can only remove 2 of the Red Rocks. That is a steal of 1. Einarson rink opens up their title defense with a convincing 7-3 win.
Team Canada will steal one.
Draw 2 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Team Saskatchewan skipped by Kerri Einarson, taking on Suzanne Birt's rink from PEI. Second end, Saskatchewan with a 2-0 lead. Birt's last with hammer facing one, looking at a chance to score a pair, but the run back misses everything. A steal of 1 makes it 3-zip Saskatchewan. Fourth end, now 3-1. Saskatchewan with shot stone. Birt's last without hammer, picks out the yellow stone, but the shooter spills too far. That led to a hit for 2 as Saskatchewan jumps out to a 5-1 lead. Sixth end, now 5-2. Anderson's last with hammer, facing 2, needs just a piece of the forefoot to score a single, but her draw weight is heavy. A steal of 2 for Prince Edward Island. They're back within 1. In the ninth, now a 6-4 Saskatchewan lead. PEI sitting 1, Birt with hammer and a chance to tie things up. And an excellent tap to score 2, all knotted at 6, heading to the 10th end. So it's Einarson with hammer and second shot stone, needs to make that red stone go away for the win, but she jams it. A steal of 1 for PEI, pulling off the comeback after trailing 5-1. They take it 7-6. Draw 3 from the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Rachel Homan and Team Ontario taking on Beth Peterson and her wildcard ring. Second end, Ontario down 1-0. Homan with hammer facing 1. Gets it by the guard, wipes out the red stone, and gets the shooter to sit and score 3. Terrific shot. Homan looking for a 4th Scotties title, not to mention she's doing it 8 months pregnant. Fifth end, now a 5-1 Ontario lead. Peterson with hammer, facing 2. She nearly slips coming out of the hack. Still delivers an amazing shot, gets the double to score 3. Peterson playing in her first Scotties, pulls within 1. Eighth end, now 6-4 Ontario. Peterson once again with hammer, facing 2, but her line is off, misses everything for a steal of 2. Ontario goes up 8-4. Next end, a familiar situation for Peterson with hammer, facing 2, but can't make both yellow stones disappear. That's a stolen point for Rachel Homan's rink. They take it 9-4 in 9 ends.
Draw 4 at the Scotties. Jennifer Jones and her Manitoba rink facing Team Fleury, skipped by Chelsea Carey. Second end, after Team Fleury gave up a steal of 1, Carey needs the full forefoot for a single, drawing against 3 red stones, and look at that touch. Team Fleury, which is one of the wildcard teams, evens it at 1 apiece. Next end, second stones, Team Fleury's Liz Fife with a beauty to help set up a chance at a steal. By the guards it goes, it gets the rub and roll, and that is sitting shot stone. Now to Jones with hammer, in some trouble, trying to angle her long guard back to score a single, and that is such a tough shot, cannot make it. It's a steal of 2 for the Fleury rink as they take a 3-1 lead. to the fifth. 4-1 now for Team Fleury. Skip Stones carries first without hammer, makes the wonderful draw to sit shot rock, putting more pressure on Manitoba. So now to Jones with hammer, trying the in-off to get multiple points, can't convert. That is another steal for the Fleury rink as they take a 5-1 lead to the break. 6N Skip Stones after a miss on Jones first, carries last, eyeing the Rays takeout, converts it, and just like that, wild card is sitting 3, and they would go on to steal another point. It is 6-1 for the Fleury rink. 8th end, now a 6-2 game. Carey, a draw for 3 and to put it away, and that is another beauty. That was it. The Fleury rink takes down Jones in Manitoba, 9-2, the final.
Very nice work.
Draw 5 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Krysta Burns and her Northern Ontario rink taking on Team Alberta, skipped by Laura Walker. Second end, Alberta with a 2-0 lead. Walker looking to limit the damage with 3 red stones in the house. Her last without hammer makes a great double to wipe out a pair of them. Northern Ontario settles for the single. Walker made her Scotties debut last year. Fourth end, looking at an opportunity to score a pair. Excellent draw weight, right to the 4-foot. Alberta jumps out to the 4-1 lead. Next end, Burns with hammer, but in some trouble facing 2. Lines up the run back, can't push the yellow far enough. A steal of 2 makes it 6-1 Alberta. 8th end, now a 7-2 Alberta lead. Burns with hammer, but facing 4, and the run back catches the red stone. That's a steal of 5. Alberta wins at 12-2 the final. Laura Walker's rink improves to 3-0.
Draw 6 at the Scotties. PI skipped by Suzanne Birt, taking on Laurie St-Georges and her Quebec rink. Pick it up third end, still 0-0, third stones. PI's Marie Christensen eyeing the Rays double.
Marie Christensen throwing the third stone.
And that is perfect. A wonderful shot. PEI scored 3 in the end to take the lead. Skip ahead to the 6th. Now a 3-2 game. PI with hammer. Birt's first. Looking at the double takeout, and she converts that. PI would go on to get a couple in the end. They go on top, 5-2. 9th end, 6-2 now. PI in some trouble, facing 4 Quebec Rocks, trying the double to limit the damage, but Birt only gets one of them to go and leaves the shooter open, and now a hit and stick opportunity for 4. So here we go. St-Georges to tie the game up, makes no mistake for 4 points, and going to the last end, it is all tied at 6. Final end, Birt facing a couple of Quebec Rocks, needs a huge chunk of the 8-foot for the win.
Keep it going. Take it for all it's got. Keep it going, ladies. Keep it going. Don't let it rub. Oh, and she's going to crash on top. Not enough.
And Quebec comes all the way back and steals the victory.
Yeah. Oh, you have to throw another guard.
Draw 7 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, and a pair of teams trying to stay perfect. Rachel Homan and her 2-0 Ontario rink, taking on 3-0 Alberta, skipped by Laura Walker. First end, Skip Stones. Walker's first without hammer. Sneaks it by the guard, makes the hit, and gets a brilliant roll. Team Alberta would steal one in the end. They open the scoring. Third end, now all tied at 1. Walker trying the quiet tap for the single point, and how about that touch by the skipper? Absolutely perfect. Alberta back on top, 2-1. To the 4th end, Ontario with hammer facing 1. Homan trying to get that yellow granite moving and score 3, and that, oh, is so close, just can't get that back yellow rock to go. Ontario settles for a single. It's tied at 2. 6th end, Ontario now down 3-2. Homan needing a big-time shot, facing a few. Just by the guard it goes and makes the hit for the single point. It's tied at 3 apiece. 8th end, Ontario down 4-3. A chance for a couple and to take the lead, but that Homan rock is light and crashes. Ontario has to settle for a single, and it's tied at 4 through 8 ends. 9th end, Walker, a chance to maybe set up a big end. Trying the double raise takeout and stick those yellow stones, but the yellow rocks spill too far. So final end we go. Ontario down the 1. Homan's first with hammer facing a couple. She gets both of the yellows to go, but Walker does have a chance to bury a draw and steal or force to a single. So Walker's last, and that, is all over the guard. Homan and Ontario gets the 2 points, and they take it 6-5, the final.
Draw 8 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Jennifer Jones continuing her quest for a 7th Scotties title, taking on Kerri Einarson's Saskatchewan rink. Second end, Anderson with hammer, looking at an opportunity to score 3, but her line is off, doesn't push the yellow far enough, and the shooter spills out. So Saskatchewan settles for the single. Sixth end, and now a 2-1 Saskatchewan lead. Manitoba has second shot stone, so Jones looking at a tap to score the deuce. Can't push the red far enough. It's just the 1 point for Manitoba. It's all tied at 2. Seventh end, Manitoba with shot stone. Jones is last without hammer, but looking at a tight window to try and do any damage. But the 6-time Scotties champ maneuvers it perfectly. Taps the redstone back far enough. That led to a steal of 1 for Manitoba. They take a 3-2 lead. Ninth end, now tied at 3. Jones with hammer, facing 2. Wipes out both red stones, but the shooter spills out, so it's just the single for Manitoba. They're up 1 heading to the 10th end. So in the 10th, Jones is last without hammer, facing 2, runs the Yellowstone back, but can't push the red far enough. Saskatchewan takes it 5-4 as Manitoba falls to 2-2.
Draw 9 at the Scotties. Last year, Team Alberta skipped by. Laura Walker started 3-0, but then they lost 4 straight. This year, they also started 3-0, but then lost. Sunday night, they're facing Beth Peterson and her wild card rink. First end, Alberta with hammer. Walker going for the angle raise and to get a couple, but that, it's all over the guard. Peterson rink steals a single to open the scoring. Fourth end, the Peterson rink now down 1, but has a chance to get a pair. A hit and stick through the port, and that gets by the guard, makes the hit, sticks around in the wild card rink, gets the deuce. They take a 3-2 lead. Sixth end, same score. Peterson's first without hammer, trying to come down to that yellow in the 12-foot, and that is wonderful touch. Peterson rink sitting a couple. That helped force Alberta to just a single in the end. It is all tied at 3 apiece. Seventh end we go. Walker's first without hammer, facing 1, and makes a beauty shot. Taps the red back to sit. First and second shot help lead to a force in the end. It's the Peterson rink on top 4-3 after 7. Eighth end we go. Alberta down 4-3. Walker with hammer needs a bit of the 4-foot and has some backing for the single, and that is a good shot by the skipper. Back and forth we go as Alberta ties it at 4. 10th end, wild card, back on top by 1. Peterson's last without hammer, trying to cover up the path to the house, but that is not very good, and you can see Peterson pretty frustrated. So now, to Walker's last, through the port, make the hit and stick for the win.
Rochelle Brown trying to find that hole. Get off that yellow, get by that red. No, crash, bang, and it'll be a steal.
Peterson rink steals. Team Alberta and Walker drop a second straight game, 6-4, the final.
Draw 10 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Tracy Fleury's wildcard team skipped by Chelsea Carey, taking on Corinne Brown's BC rink. First end, Carey with hammer, has a couple stones in play, looking to put up a big score early, but her line is off. Misses the yellow at the top of the 12-foot, so they settle for the single. Fourth end, it's 2-1 BC. Team wildcard lying 3. Brown's first without hammer, gets the hit and roll to freeze that yellow stone. What a shot by Brown. They force Team wildcard to a blank. Fifth end, Carey with hammer, facing 2, still with a chance to score a couple, but comes up light on the run back. The yellow spills out, so it's a steal of 3. BC takes a 5-1 lead. Skip to the 10th. BC hanging on to a 7-5 lead. Team wildcard with a couple rocks in play, looking to mount the comeback, but another terrific shot by Brown. Excellent triple, makes all 3 yellows disappear. British Columbia wins at 7-5. They pick up their second win at this year's Scotties.
That was an ugly yell.
It is draw 11 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts and a wild card battle. The Beth Peterson rink facing team Mackenzie Zacharias. Second end still 0-0. Peterson, a chance for a hit and stick around for a couple, and she converts it as the Peterson rink opens the scoring. They take a 2-0 lead. Fourth end, same score. Peterson in some trouble, trying the double on her last without hammer to escape the end unscathed. Makes a brilliant shot. The end would go on to blank. It stays 2-0 for the Peterson rink. Next end, Zacharias trying to get on the board. A draw against 3 red stones, and that is lovely touch by the skipper. Even grabs the lid as the Zacharias rink is on the board. They trail 2-1. After Zacharias forced in the 6th, and a beauty on her first here in the 7th end, a draw to a big chunk of the 4-foot for the deuce, and that is a good scrub and a good shot, and it just gets there. This one is all tied at 3 apiece. 9th end, now 4-3 for the Peterson rink. Peterson's last without hammer, trying to just remove that yellow rock and put the force on. Just gets enough of it. Zacharias would get a single. It's all tied, coming home. Final end we go. Peterson's first with hammer, facing one, eyeing the draw, and that is pretty good, nearly into the 4-foot. So now Zacharias needs the 4 to force Peterson to throw her last. So here we go, but that is light from Zacharias. The Peterson rink gets the victory over Team Zacharias, 5-4, the final.
And this battle of wild card.
Draw 12 at the Scotties. Laurie St-Georges and her Quebec rink is at the top of Pool B with a 4-1 record. Here is the TSN broadcast pregame.
They are young, they are aggressive, they just love it.
They do. It's just absolutely no fear. And she said it over and over again. She loves the pressure.
Taking on Kerri Einarson and Saskatchewan, and they might not be loving this. First end, opportunity for Saskatchewan to score 3. A hit and stick around by the guard, and that is a beauty for the 3 points as Saskatchewan opens a scoring. They lead 3-0. Next end, Quebec a chance to answer right back with 3 themselves. Just tap their own red in there a bit. That is so close, just not enough, and the St. George rink settles for the deuce. It's a 3-2 game. To the third, St. George facing one. Needs to come through the port. Does just that, and that's a great roll. That helped lead to a steal of 1. It was the first of back-to-back steals for Quebec, and they led 4-3 after 4 ends. Fifth end we go. Einarson and Saskatchewan, a chance to get a couple right back. Just tap the red back that's in the 8-foot. Good line, and that is perfect from Einarson, and halfway through this game, it is Saskatchewan on top, 5-4. Next end and some second stones. Quebec's Emily Riley, and look at this beauty. Makes the hit and gets the roll buried at the top of the button. That helped lead to a pair, and Quebec goes back on top, 6-5. Now let's skip all the way to the 9th end, and what a game-changing 9th it was. Tied at 6. St. George first with hammer. Trying to come down into that pocket, but that is not good. It rubs off on their own and sets up Einarson to maybe steal multiple points in the end. So to Anderson's last, trying to hit and stay right there to lie 3, and that is a wonderful shot by the skipper, and Quebec is in some trouble. So now to St. George last. That is all over the guard. Saskatchewan steals 3. The Kerri Einarson rink goes on to win it 9-6, the final.
Draw 13 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Rachel Homan and Team Ontario taking on Carey Galusha's Northwest Territories rink. Fourth end, tied at 1. Homan with hammer, facing 1, goes through port, but just barely misses the yellow. Doesn't get much closer than that. A steal of 1 puts the Territories up 2-1. Then in the 6th, now 3-2 Ontario. Team Homan with 4 stones in the house. Galusha's first with hammer. Does some great damage control. Wipes out 3 red stones. That led to a single as the Territories tie it up. Next end, Homan with hammer. Needs just a piece of the 8-foot to score the single, but the 3-time Scotties champ comes up way too light. That's a steal of 2. It's the second stolen end of the day. Homan only gave up 1 stolen end in her first 5 games of the tournament. The Territories take a 5-3 lead. Ninth end, now tied at 5. It's Ontario shot stone. Homan's last without hammer, but once again comes up light on the draw weight, so an opportunity for Galusha to put up a big score. With hammer, she makes the hit to score at least 2. After a measurement, they confirm it's just the 2 points, but that would be enough as Galusha and her Northwest Territories rink take down Team Ontario 7-5. It's Rachel Homan's first loss at this year's Scotties.
That red jiggled a little bit.
Draw 14 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. 6-time Scotties champ Jennifer Jones and Team Manitoba taking on Suzanne Birt's PEI rink. Both teams sitting at 3-2. First end, Birt with hammer facing 2, gets the hit, wipes out a pair of red stones. That scores a pair. PEI jumps out to the 2-0 lead. Fourth end, now 3-1. Jones with hammer sitting 1. Excellent draw weight, maneuvers it by the guard and gets it to sit. A deuce for Manitoba. That ties it up. Fifth end, Birt with hammer facing 1, but looking at a crowded path to score the single, and it crashes into the guard. A steal of 1 gives Manitoba the 4-3 lead. Seventh end, now tied at 4. Jones with hammer, sitting 1, looking at a crowded house, picks out the yellow stone. Terrific shot to score 2 more. It's 6-4 Manitoba. Next end, Birt with hammer, sitting 1, looking to tie things up, but can't get it by her own. So it's just the single for PEI. Ninth end, a 6-5 Manitoba lead now. Jones looking at a potential hit to score 4. Can't get the shooter to stick, but it wipes out the yellow stone. So 3 more points for Manitoba. They go on to take it 9-5.
Draw 15 at the Scotties and a big one in Pool A. Team Canada skipped by Kerri Einarson, the last remaining undefeated team in the tournament, facing Laura Walker and Alberta. Second end, no score, skip stones. Anderson's first without hammer, eyeing the freeze, and that is absolutely perfect, putting a little bit of pressure on the Alberta rink early. So now let's skip ahead to Walker's last. Trying to come through the port for the single. That crashes and doesn't roll in far enough, ends up being a steal of a couple, and Team Canada takes the lead 2-0. On we go to the fifth, now 3-1 Team Canada. Walker's first with hammer, going with the draw, and what a great come around to sit in the back 4-foot, help lead to a deuce for Team Alberta, and it's all tied at 3 halfway through. Seventh end, Alberta down 4-3. Walker with hammer facing 1, eyeing the double tap and maybe get a couple of points to take the lead.
Laura Walker, now Brown's got her. Tap, tap, oh, watch out.
And that is just the worst case scenario. It didn't even look like the shot was there. They gave up a steal of 2, and now 4 stolen points for Team Canada in the game. They lead 6-3. Eighth end, Walker now facing a couple, trying the tough double and get a couple points back, but that rock just sails right through the rings. Another steal of 2. That was handshakes. Team Canada stays undefeated. They take this one 8-3, the final.
Draw 16 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Jennifer Jones and Team Manitoba taking on Melissa Adams and her New Brunswick rink. First end, New Brunswick with shot stone. Caitlin Laws with a great setup shot. Delicate weight, spreads the 2 yellow stones around. And that sets up Jones later in the end. Looking at a hit for 3 with hammer, and the 6-time Scotties champ makes no mistake. Manitoba jumps out to the quick 3-0 lead. Second end, New Brunswick in some trouble. Adams with hammer, facing 3, runs into both guards, still has a chance to spill far enough into the house, but it comes up short. A steal of 3 for Manitoba. They take a 6-0 lead. Fourth end, now 6-1. Jones with hammer, lying 1, looking at a chance to score a pair. Great draw weight. 2 more points for Manitoba. They go on to take it 12-3. Jones improves to 5-2 at this year's Scotties.
Draw 17 at the Scotties, and it's simple. Win, and you're in the championship pool. Northwest Territories skipped by Carey Galusha, facing a wildcard rink, and Beth Peterson. Second end, no score. Galusha's first with hammer, eyeing the hit and roll. and that is perfect from the skipper. A great shot helped lead to a pair in the end, and the Territories take the lead 2-0. Back comes the Peterson rink in the third end. A draw opportunity to a nice chunk of the 8-foot. The Scrubbers do a great job, and the rock gets there. Peterson rink ties it up at 2 apiece. To the fifth end we go. The Territories down 1. Galusha's first with hammer. Draws it around the guard and buried, sitting on the button. Peterson would miss, and Galusha would make a hit and stick for 2, and the Territories back on top. Seventh end, the Territories back down 1. Galusha, a hit and stick around for 3. Makes no mistake, and the Territories go up 7-5 with 3 ends to go.
Not bothered by.
Eighth end we go. Galusha's first without hammer, eyeing the hit and roll, and just another incredible shot by Galusha, sitting shot rock, and the Territories would steal 1 in the end, and they go on top by 3. 10th end we go, now a 1-point game. Peterson's last without hammer, and she makes a great draw to the button to sit 2, and that puts the pressure on Galusha. To Galusha's last, facing a couple, just trying the quiet tap and get a single for the win. Crashes into their own, but gets a break because that red stone taps the other yellow away, so it's only a steal of 1, and we needed an extra end. So now, to the 11th end, let's go right to skip stones. Peterson's first without hammer, trying to steal the victory, and another dandy. Draws it right to the top of the bun for shot stone. So now, to Galusha's last, and she has never made it to the championship pool, needs a big chunk of the bun for the win.
Fleming, Barber, Rizzo. Have you got it, ladies? Have you got it? Have you got it? And no.
And Beth Peterson and her rookie Scotties team steals the victory to advance to the championship pool. 9-8, the final. Scotties Tournament of Hearts, draw 18. PEI skipped by Suzanne Birt. They need a win to force a tiebreaker. They're taking on BC, skipped by Corinne Brown. Second end, PEI trailing 1-0. Birt has a hit and stick opportunity for couple. What a great brush that was, and PEI gets the 2 points, and they take the lead. Next end, BC has a chance to get a couple back. Brown, just a hit and stick. But that is a miss there as the shooter rolls away. BC settles for a single. It's tied at 2. Fifth end, BC down 1. A chance to get a couple and take the lead going into the break. And that is nice touch by the skip. British Columbia gets the pair of points, and they lead 4-3 after 5 ends. 6th end we go, and what a game changer. Skip stones, Brown's first without hammer. BC already sitting a couple, and that's a great shot. Comes right down to their own, and Prince Edward Island is in some big trouble. So now, to Birt's last. Facing 4 BC stones. Needs a chunk of the bun for the single. Gets the rub off the BC rock, but doesn't get in close enough. It's a steal of a couple, and BC takes a 3-point lead. 9th end, now PE, down just a single point, but in a bit of trouble. Birt trying to freeze and limit the points, but that rubs off and gives BC an opportunity for a multiple point end. And this would basically put it away, and Brown is on the money, makes no mistake. British Columbia scores 3 in the end. They take a 9-5 lead. They go on to win it, and that eliminates PEI. 9-5 is the final.
Both teams will now finish at 4.
Draw 19 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts Championship Pool Play underway. Rachel Homan and Team Ontario taking on Tracy Fleury's wildcard rink skipped by Chelsea Carey. First end, Ontario with first and third shot stones. Homan with hammer, looking to jump out to a big lead, but she can't get by her own, so just the single for Ontario to open things up. Fourth end, now tied at 2. Ontario with second and third shot stones. Homan's last without hammer, trying to make that yellow disappear, but instead wipes out her own. The shooter spills out, and the yellow hangs onto the 12-foot. Frustration for the 3-time Scotties champ. So now Carey looking at a hit to score the deuce, and she gets the shooter to stick around. Team Wildcard takes the 4-2 lead. Sixth end, now 4-3. Carey with hammer, looking at a draw to score the single, needs just the full 8-foot, but it over-curls, crashes into the guard. A steal of 1 for Ontario. That ties it up. After Carey missed the blank attempt and scored the single, Homan now with hammer in the 8th, down 1, trying to make that yellow disappear and score a couple, but this time Homan crashes into the guard. It's a steal of 1 for Team Wildcard. They take a 6-4 lead. Now let's skip to the 10th, tied at 6. Ontario sitting 2. Carey with hammer, needs just a single for the win.
And she come up with the big shot. Run it back, bang, bang. Oh my gosh, spill it, roll it.
Oh, nice try, Chelsea.
And not quite enough.
Yeah.
Thought it was there.
Ontario steals the win. They take it 7-6. Homan improves to 8-1 at this year's Scotties.
Draw 20, Rachel Homan in Ontario facing Quebec and Laurie St-Georges. Let's pick it up in the 10th then. Ontario down 7-5, tons of rocks in play. Homan eyeing down the triple raise takeout.
Possibly pick up a couple here and pours an extra. Rachel Homan now. Courtney called off. Here they are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and it will work. Unbelievable.
Wow. What a shot by Homan. Ontario scores a deuce. This thing needed an extra end. So now let's go to Homan's last without hammer. Facing 1. It needs to be shot stone.
A Quebec win. Told to go. Told to keep going. Here comes that stone top 12. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going to be shot rock.
Fantastic shot.
Okay, so now that sets the stage for St. George drawing for the win.
7-7 tie. Get it by the guard. Can you find the 4-foot? Can you save this for the skipper? Can you get it there a little more? No!
Homan and Ontario steals the victory. They take it 8-7, the final, improving to 9-1.
Draw 21 at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Jennifer Jones and her Manitoba rink are tied for the final playoff spot, taking on Rachel Homan and Team Ontario, a combined 9 Scotties titles between these two skips. First end, Homan facing 2, her last without hammer, trying to limit the damage early, gets the hit and an excellent roll, buries the shooter. That puts some pressure on Jones. She was just 59% on her draws Friday, but the 6-time Scotties champ with great draw weight here, right to the hearts. Manitoba opens the scoring with a single. Next end, it's Homan feeling the pressure. With hammer, facing 2, Homan misses the run back, but how far will the shooter spill? Well, it just holds on to the 12-foot, a steal of 1 for Manitoba. They lead it 2-0. Third end, it's Manitoba, again with shot stone. Homan looking at a draw to get on the board, needs the full 4-foot, but it sails through. Another stolen end for Manitoba. They lead 3-0. Next end, Manitoba threatening again, sitting 2. Homan again with hammer, goes through port, but can't push the yellow back far enough. 3 straight stolen ends by Manitoba. They're up 4-0. In the 6th end, it's now 4-1. Jones with hammer, facing 1, shows off the excellent touch, curls around the guard, and taps the red back far enough to give Manitoba shot stone. They take a 5-1 lead. In the next end, Ontario sitting 1. Jones her last without hammer, and she makes a great hit and roll for shot stone. That puts some pressure on Homan. So now it's Homan with hammer, trying to tap the red back, but it goes through the rings. It's a steal of 3. Jones beats Homan at the Scotties for the first time since 2015 as Manitoba cruises to a 9-1 win.
It is the final draw of championship pool play at the Scotties. Team Canada and Kerri Einarson trying to book their spot in the final, while Jennifer Jones and Manitoba trying to force a tiebreaker. Take it up in the 4th end, Manitoba down 2-1. third stones. How about this beauty by Manitoba's Caitlin Laws? Comes right down to the red, and Manitoba looking for a multiple point end. So now let's skip ahead to Jones first with hammer, trying the double raise double. And what a great shot by the skip. Einarson would miss on a double, and Jones made the draw for 3, and Manitoba goes on top 4-2. Fifth end, Team Canada trying to get a couple back. Einarson, the double tap for 2.
Come across the nose, touch it back. Oh, that is sweet.
Just a beauty by the skip, ties it at 4 apiece, and we're halfway through. To the 6th, Jones and Manitoba in some trouble. Jones trying to come through the port for a single, facing a couple. That is all over the guard. Team Canada steals 2, and that is just the 8th end Team Manitoba has been stolen on this week. It is 6-4 Team Canada. Next end, Einarson trying the double on her last without hammer, and that is a miss. Jones would draw for a couple, and with 3 ends to go, it was all tied at 6 apiece. 8th end we go. After a beauty hit and roll by Einarson, Jones trying to just pick the rock away, and that is so nice by the 6-time Scotties champion. Einarson settled for a single, and it is 7-6 Team Canada. To the 9th, Team Canada in tons of trouble. Einarson facing 4 with her last without hammer, trying to get the yellow granite moving, gets them moving a bit, and well, this leaves a big opportunity for Jones as Rachel Homan watching on, because if Team Canada loses, Ontario would finish in top spot. So Jones now drawing for 3, and that rock gets the rub and roll and settles down. Manitoba gets the 3 points. They take a 9-7 lead into the final end. So 10th end, Einarson trying the double for 2 and to force an extra end, and look at that. What a nice shot, and we needed to go to an 11th end. So now, in the extra end, Jones last with hammer to force a tiebreaker. Drawing against a couple, and Jones makes no mistake. Manitoba takes it, and they force a tiebreaker against Alberta on Sunday.
It's a Sunday morning tiebreaker at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Jennifer Jones and Team Manitoba facing Laura Walker's Alberta rink. The winner faces defending champion Kerri Einarson in the semifinal. In the third, Manitoba up 2-1. Walker with hammer facing 2, and a tough path to try and score in the end, and Walker's line is off. Crashes into the guard, a steal of 2 for Manitoba. They're up 4-1. Fifth end, looks like Manitoba is sitting 2. Walker's first without hammer, goes around the guard, terrific draw to the forefoot and buries it. So some pressure on Jones, the 6-time Scotties champ with hammer, facing 1. On Friday, she was just 59% on her draws. Can't get this one to the hearts, a little too heavy. A steal of 1, and just like that, Alberta is only down 4-3. In the 6th end, a strong end from Team Manitoba has them in position for the deuce. Jones with hammer, pushes back the yellow and gets the shooter to sit. Manitoba leads it 6-3. Very next end, Walker with a chance to get right back in it. With hammer, sitting 1, looking at a draw to score a pair. Instead she hits, wipes out the red. Can the shooter sit? Well, yes it will. And take a look at Walker. Yeah, she was nervous there. It's a 6-5 game heading to the 8th end. So it's Jones with hammer in the 8th. Alberta has shots down just by a hair. Jones tries to tap the yellow in for the single, but doesn't get enough of it. It's a steal of 1 for Alberta, and we're all tied up. In the 9th, Manitoba sitting 1, Jones with hammer, looking at a draw to score the deuce, and the Manitoba skipper gets the job done. 2 on the board, Manitoba up 8-6 heading to the 10th. So it's Jones's last without hammer, facing 3, needs the double to avoid giving Walker an open draw for 3, but just picks out one of the yellows. Jones showing her frustration, and that gives Walker the draw for the win, and she does it. Walker books her spot in the semifinal. Jones' run at a record 7th Scotties title comes to an end. A nice moment for Walker, celebrating with her son Liam. Team Alberta will face Kerri Einarson and Team Canada in the semis. It's the Scotties Tournament of Hearts semifinal. Defending champion Kerri Einarson and Team Canada looking to set up a rematch of last year's final with Rachel Homan. They're taking on Laura Walker's Alberta rink. Third end, tied at 1, Alberta sitting 1, Einarson's first, an excellent hit and roll, buries the shooter, and that set her up later. Still in the third, Einarson now with hammer, looking at a draw to score the deuce, and she gets it. Einarson and Team Canada grab the 3-1 lead. Next end, Alberta has second shot stone, but looking at a tight window to score a pair. Walker with hammer, goes through port, threads the needle, picks out the yellow stone, can't get the shooter to sit, but regardless, a phenomenal shot by Walker to score the single, and just like that, it's a 3-2 game. Now let's go to skip stones in the sixth end. Alberta in some trouble, facing 4. Walker's first without hammer, a beautiful draw to the hearts. That gives Alberta shot stone. So now it's Einarson's first, runs the yellow stone back and picks out the red, so Team Canada sitting 5. Then it's Einarson with hammer, a chance to hit and score 6, but she crashes into that red guard. It spills into the rings, so still a 3-ender for Canada. They grab a 6-2 lead. In the 7th, Alberta with shot stone, but looking at a crowded 4-foot, Walker with hammer, tries to tap the yellow back for the deuce, but not far enough. Alberta settles for the single. They're down 6-3. In the 8th end, Alberta has shot stone, but there's 2 yellows at the back of the 12-foot. Einarson with hammer. She makes the hit and gets the shooter to stick around. Another 3-ender for Team Canada. They win it 9-3 after 8 ends, and that sets up a rematch of last year's Scotties final. It'll be Kerri Einarson and Rachel Homan.
It is the championship final of the Scotties. Team Canada skipped by Kerri Einarson taking on Team Ontario and Rachel Homan. And for the first time ever, the same 2 teams will meet in the final in 2 straight years. Last year, Einarson defeated Homan in an extra end. And Team Einarson trying to become the first team to win back-to-back Scotties titles since Homan did in 2013-2014. First end, Homan with hammer, trying to navigate the port and score a single, but that is all over their own. At least they are able to get in for second shot. They give up a steal of 1, and Team Canada takes the early lead. To the third end now, Team Canada down 2-1. A chance to get a couple, a hit and stick for 2, but that is a miss by Einarson. The shooter rolls out. Team Canada has to settle for a single, and it's all square at 2 apiece. To the fourth end now, Homan with hammer, drawing against those 5 yellows in the rings, needs a huge chunk of the 4-foot, and that is so clutch by the skipper. Ontario gets the single, and they take a 3-2 lead. Next end we go, Team Canada trying for a big end. Einarson facing 1, trying to sit 3 with her first.
Pritchard, Mayer. Listen to Sweeting, get it by. Oh, they get by again. Oh, what a wonderful shot.
What a job to get it by the guard, and what a shot. Team Canada would go on to score 3 in the end, and halfway through they lead 5-3. To the 6, Einarson's first without hammer. Facing 1, and how about this shot? Picks the red away and bumps the other red back, and Team Canada is sitting first and second. They went on to force in the end, and they lead 5-4. To the 7th, after an Ontario hogline violation, third stones, Team Canada's Val Sweeting makes the run back, and the shooter is buried. A couple of great shots by Sweeting in the end. Team Canada got a pair to take a 7-4 lead. 8th then we go, and Ontario trying to get a deuce back. Einarson with her last without hammer, trying to squish that red rock out, and look at that by the skipper. Team Canada puts the force on, and they lead 7-5. 9th end, Homan trying to hit and stick to sit 2 without hammer, and that is a great shot by Homan, putting some pressure on Team Canada. Homan has lost in the last 2 Scotties finals. So now Einarson trying the run back. That is all over the guard. Ontario steals a couple, and we are all tied coming home. Final end we go. Ontario facing a couple. Homan with her last needs to be shot stone.
Needs to be the shot. A little bit of guess on the weight here. It has to stop. It has to be the shot rock. It has to be the shot rock. And it will go too far, and it will be a second straight Canadian championship for Kerri Einarson.
And that sails by. Team Canada wins it. Homan has now lost in 3 straight Scotties finals, while the Einarson rink goes back to back. They take this one 9-7, the final.
3 straight silver medals.